Hello guys, and welcome to day 10 of the microgreen growing. Great, so let me turn this light off. Now we should be able to see just how well all of this is growing. And this is day 1. I've got 3 trays here, which I'm gonna fill with microgreens. I've got some old potting mix from compost containers, which, you know, nothing's growing in them in winter, so I'm just gonna use the top layer of dirt there, reuse that. I've got my grow lights. I've got a little bonus for us, which I'll explain later in the video. And of course, I absolutely overdid it on the microgreen seed packages. Let me go ahead and show you how I'm gonna prepare the trays. It's really self-explanatory. Dirt out, dirt in. The dirt is basically just gonna be there to give the seeds a medium to kind of hook onto and grow by themselves. They're not extremely reliant on the nutrients in there. There should still be some. So for one time, last use of that dirt, this is perfect. Alright, so I've transferred the dirt into the containers, I've added water, and now let's move back inside because it's absolutely freezing here. And let me tell you why I need a grow light, which is related to why I'm wearing this jacket. Now, I don't know if you can see that, but there's a bunch of steam coming out of me. Now, this brings us to part 2, which is the grow light. You might have noticed I was wearing my winter jacket. Well, that's because it's been like -10 degrees Celsius outside the past week, and the sunlight hours that we're getting right now just aren't really enough for anything to grow. In January, almost every plant that I had just ended up wilting and not making it. And right now I've got this parsley, which I've literally put in today because I wanted to experiment with it. I've got some little onion strands here, garlic, but I had like 17 containers of stuff at some point, I believe. Yeah, it must have been something like that. All gone. Now, this fixes that problem because this little grow light is going to be able to provide the amount of sunlight exposure that these plants need in order for them to be able to grow. And obviously, as soon as the microgreens start sprouting, they're going to be placed under the grow light. So let me go ahead and unpack it. So this is the lighting setup, and that's going to basically be on pretty much, I guess, 8 hours per day. I'll check in a bit if that's actually the right amount for microgreens, but check this out because I splurged a little bit and I've got this awesome remote. So if I want to turn it off, boom, off, on, change the color. It's got blue, red, and something in between, which is probably useful for different growing things. I'll tell you in a bit. I'll tell you on day 2 when I've actually figured this all out. And I've also got an automatic timer here. So once I set this up one time, I'm not gonna have to be here every day pressing it on and off. It's just gonna be on when it needs to be and off when it needs to be. So while you can get grow lights and literally just get the bulbs for a couple of dollars, like $2, this whole thing, which has 4 lights, I mean, if I want to, I can spread this out and cover a pretty decent area. Only cost me $20. And it comes with a remote. Anyway, the point is that I'm having way too much fun with this, but I'll give you guys a breakdown of all the costs in the video and how I think you can reduce a couple of them at the end. So let's move on to day 2, where I'm actually gonna put some of the seeds in, well, the seed trays. Alright, it is now day 2. I've got my light in the corner, warming up my old plants, set up completely, and in front of me, I've got a huge selection of microgreen seeds for us to go through. So, what have I got here? I've got my regular greens right here. We've got sunflower seeds, broccoli, alfalfa, watercress. Then I've got some reds for color over here. We've got beetroot, red hurricane something, and China Rose something too. The China Rose is really, really popular. I need to check exactly what that is. It'll be here. I've got some mix sets for later on when I want to grow them myself. And up here I've ignored this section because these 4 are all sprouts, and I'm going to be growing these in my little bonus trays. So that's for tomorrow. Now let's get these out of the way and focus on the selection for the main part of the video, which is going to be the regular microgreens. So broccoli is known to be one of the super microgreens. It's one of the most nutritious ones, and for the health benefits, you should really be growing broccoli. So this one is definitely going to be grown today. Let's move that forward. Then we've got sunflower seeds, which are also extremely popular in the microgreen community. They've also got tons of health benefits. Let's go with that one. And for the thumbnail, I do want another one that's predominantly green, but generally when you make a microgreen kind of mixed salad or whatever you want a little bit of color in there. So that's where the China Rose comes in. And once again, what it is, I'll put it right here because this is beautiful. It's got a nice green leaf on top and a red stem. So that should add just a little pop of color, but on the thumbnail, I do want it to be predominantly green. So I'm gonna grow this guy here. And these, I'll grow them later on at some point. You might see them in future videos. But this is then our selection for this video. We've got China Rose, broccoli, and sunflower seeds. So I've got here my soil trays that I prepared yesterday, and I hope you enjoy the little upgrade I made to the scene. But let's go ahead and take the broccoli first. So the broccoli seed is absolutely tiny. I mean, I don't even think you can see that, but if I put them on my hand and show them to you, you can see just how tiny that is right there. So I'm gonna give this a really quite dense layering, because you're supposed to sow these extremely closely when you're growing microgreens. If you're growing them out in your garden, you obviously want to leave a decent amount of spacing in between everything. But yeah, also I'm wearing my glasses because there's like no sunlight and I can't see in the dark. So let's fill this one here with broccoli. It's going to be easier if I just use the seed packet. So get a nice little corner and let's just go to town on this. I mean, I've got, I think 10 grams of seeds in here and I'm going pretty dense. Yeah, that should be quite dense, honestly. Let's get some more in the middle here. They are bouncing around just a little bit. Wow, that should really do the trick. Now, I don't know if I'm actually supposed to put more dirt on top. I'll check that and have an answer by tonight. But let's just go through the rest of the process right now of actually sowing it. And in the end, I'll zoom in on each tray so you can see exactly how intensely I sowed everything. So let's move on now to the sunflower seeds, which I guess are going to be quite a lot bigger than the broccoli. I mean, I'd be surprised if they weren't. So here we go. Oh yeah, look at these. Oh, they're huge. Oh, I might not have enough. Look at that. Thick ones. If I put them in my hand, you can definitely see the individual ones there. Oh yeah, each one of those is a seed. I mean, I don't know if there's multiple seeds in a pod. There might be, that would be great. But yeah, let's just go ahead and sow this as densely as I can without kind of overdoing it, I guess. I actually don't know. I guess I'll just do kind of like, it's pretty easy to see these. I mean, they're really big. Chick. I mean, there's only this much left in the packet. I might as well just use all of it, I guess. That might have been wrong, but I've used the whole packet, which was 20 grams of sunflower seeds, but that does make sense because I'm hoping for like 1 sprout per seed, and each seed is probably 1 sprout with sunflower seeds. I don't know, if there's like 5 seeds per pod, then I'm completely off the mark there. Let's move on to the China Rose. And once again, let's have a look at the seed that we've got. Oh, these are bigger than the broccoli. These are kind of medium-sized seeds. Guess you can see that. And yeah, let's just go ahead and spread them out. Give this a nice kind of layering. I reckon, I don't know if I'm gonna end up using the whole pack. these. But you can definitely see those on camera, right? Yeah, that's showing up well. All right. Oh, this has some great contrast. This is my favorite seed so far to look at. Let's keep going. I really don't know if this is enough coverage. I have my doubts. How much is left in this package? You know what? There's not that much left in this pack. I don't know. Maybe like a fourth or fifth. Let's just go with the whole thing, guys. Let's go crazy. Let's see what happens, right? We're experimenting. This is fun. Cool. All right, here we go. So we've got a tray full of China rose. We've got a tray full of broccoli and a tray full of sunflowers. Now, I believe that what you're supposed to do is get these wet and then kind of stack them on top of each other for the first few days, because that little bit of pressure helps to push all the seeds into the soil and keep good contact wet the soil so that they actually can grab that moisture and start germinating. And then after, I think usually about 2 days, you'll start to see that the trays will kind of like pop up. And that's when you know that they're germinating. I mean, you can always just lift the tray and have a look and you'll see that they're germinating. So let's just go ahead and do that. I need to wet these seeds and then stack them on top of each other. I've got my water bottle with a 3D printed little kind of, I don't even know what you call that, outlet, I guess. And here we go. Let's just give them a bit of a watering. I don't want to overdo it because this soil is already quite moist from yesterday. So I really just want to give it like a last little layering. Oh God, okay. The broccoli seed is kind of going everywhere, so I want to do this kind of quickly and gently. That was good. And now, of course, the last one. This one seems to stay in place a lot more. Now I definitely see why they want you to put a tray on top, because these seeds will have a tendency to move around quite a lot on their own, and with the trays, you're kind of locking them in place. So just in case you can't see that, let me show you the broccoli real quick. See, those seeds are really, really tiny. All right, let's put you back. So here we go. I think these are the smallest, so I want to make sure these have the best contact. Let's go ahead and... No, I should be doing it the other way around. All right, these are the biggest seeds, so I guess they should have the most pressure on them. Then let's go with the medium one, and then let's go with the little one. And obviously you're like, hey, but the little ones don't have anything on top of them. That's why I've got an empty tray, of course, to just plop on top here. And basically in a couple of days, we should see these trays start to lift off of each other. And I think that the most that you're recommended to stack on top of each other are like 6 trays. I've only got 3, so I assume it's gonna be perfectly okay. Fingers crossed. And the last piece of the puzzle is to put them in a warm place to help them germinate. Really anywhere in the apartment would be fine, but I'm gonna put them on top of a radiator on a windowsill. So that's it. The seeds are now in their permanent position on top of this radiator here. They should be getting plenty of warmth. And of course outside it is full of, yes, you guessed it, that's snow. So this is the only gardening I can really do. Now, that's it for day 2. All right, guys, it's day 3 of filming this video, and let's have a look and see what kind of germination we have. I'm just gonna lift these quickly. We're gonna take a peek below, and yeah, that's the plan. So let's have a look. So in the top layer, oh, we have some really good germination going on here. Can you guys see that? No, I'm gonna have to bring you in closer. Hold on. All right, guys, so let's have a look at the first layer of seeds. And if I lift this tray up, now what we see is absolutely brilliant. We see all these seeds starting to germinate here. I think we've got like 70% of seeds that are already starting to sprout a little bit. So I'm definitely doing this right. And that soil still looks very moist, so I definitely won't have to add any water today. Now let's go one layer deeper. I'm trying to do this a little bit delicately. Here we go. We've got some all right germination happening, right? I'd say not as high as the other one. Here we've got maybe 50% of them starting to show signs of something happening. And the last one is the sunflower seeds. And by the way, the bottom of all these trays is quite wet. I hope you can see that, but we're definitely retaining moisture by keeping these trays on top of them. Anyway, this is the sunflower seeds here, and not a single one has germinated yet. These might need to be exposed to light. I need to check that because I would expect to see something happening on those sunflower seeds, and we don't see anything. I told you guys that there was going to be a bonus component to this video, and that's what I've got right here in this box. You might notice I've got 3 new seed packets lined up over here, and these are gonna be sprouts. I don't know what the technical term is. What you've seen me doing so far is trying to grow microgreens, where I'm trying to grow them a little bit and then eat them. Meanwhile, these, I think they take less time, and you really just care about it like right as it comes out of the seed, pretty much 1 or 2 days after, and you already want to be eating these. So I'm going to call this bonus part sprouts and the other stuff microgreens. I'm definitely mixing up the technical terms here. So let me open this box and show you exactly what's inside. Any English instructions on here? Oh, there are. Wonderful. So the great thing about this box is that there are English instructions on here, which makes me extremely happy. So it lists here 5 things, and I'm gonna read them off for you. We've got the lid, which should be kind of self-explanatory. You need something on the very top. We've got 3 large germination pans, and then there's one more right here. So I reckon I can go ahead and stack these. So we've got the germination pans, we've got the lid on here, we've got red siphon drains, which provide a steady outflow of water and regulate humidity. So these need to go on each pan, like so. Try not to drop too many things here. So let's, I don't know if the orientation matters, but I think I've not done that in the right order. So let's get these out. This must have been the top one. This one goes like so. I guess there's tabs somewhere. Not sure actually. And this one, let's place it like so. Oh, that's pretty stable, I think. So then we've got a fan. I don't see a fan. Do you see a fan? Fan in the lid and in every level of pan for germination process provided 3 fans. They are used to discharge gas and oxygen. Fans. What fans? Maybe they mean vents? No clue. There's nothing else in this box. And the last part is the water tank for the irrigation of excess water. So yeah, and I can use that excess water to water my other plants if I want to. So that's definitely not gonna get wasted. But I think this is more or less a setup. I don't know what fans they were talking about. But yeah, basically the difference between these sprouts and the microgreens is that they don't really need to dig into anything. Just putting water in here and having them sprout by themselves is gonna be enough for them to grow. Now I'm gonna go ahead and give these a wash, and then we're gonna come back to the sprout seeds. Oh, that's pretty fun. It foams up quite nicely. It's got like a corrugated bottom. Anyway, I'll be back in a second. All right, so I've given each part a really good wash. I've got about 600 milliliters of lukewarm water here. The box says 500, but just a little bit extra just in case. Don't want to get up again. And I've got my 3 seed packets. So let's get started. So the first step is that you should have these pans a little bit wet, which is perfect. I've just washed them. I didn't dry them off. Wonderful, 10 out of 10. Rinse with cold water. Done. Now it says put the seeds in here in a loose layer, but enough that they're more or less covering the entire surface of the pan. So another seed unboxing for you guys, and let's just, it's the whole packet, so I'm just gonna be putting the whole packets in here. This is one packet from Toraf, and the seed sprouter is also from Toraf, so I'm hoping that kind of more or less works out. Same brand. Should be more or less 1 packet per 1 tray. I hope. We'll see. So on to seed number 2. We've got some more beans over here. I'll put right here what the 3 different beans are that I've got for you. Because I don't know, it's all in Polish, guys. You have to forgive me. Oh, it says here on the back, these are Adzuki bean sprouting seeds. These are mung seeds. That's great. I didn't know that these seed packets had English on the back. This is absolutely wonderful. It even says here that I should use this this Toraf multi-sprouter thing to make them. So these should take about 5 to 7 days. The ones I've poured in here should take about 3 to 6 days. And again, I should use this sprouter. This is absolutely wonderful. This company's fantastic. So let's just pour the whole packet and give that a little shake. We want to make sure that's nicely spread out. This one's not as full, but I mean, these are some pretty big seeds, so we'll see. It doesn't matter. And the last one is from a different company, but what does it say here? These are wheat seeds for sprouting. Source of most valuable nutrients. Prevents cancer, facilitates digestion, should be consumed regularly with sandwiches and salad or eaten intermittently all day long. But the most important part is that it also says here that it is seeds for sprouting. I don't know if that's appearing on camera, but I hope so. This is 50 grams. Whoa. Oh, these were also 50 grams. Never mind. The regular seed packages are like 10 grams. That's why I was surprised. All right, this is cool. We're learning. We're learning. So let's go ahead and place these in as well. This one has a nice opening on the bottom, which is fantastic. Nice. Wow. Maybe not as nice as I thought. No, that is nice. That's very nice. Wow, that's really easy. And these seeds look so cool. I'll pour them out. You'll see them. And let's give this a little shake. Nicely spread out. And now the next step is I'm going to have to stack them all up and then show you how this system works. It's really cool. So I want to make sure that the siphons are not directly on top of each other. I need to kind of stagger them a little bit. So this is stacked, everything is flat, the lid comes on later. And now to the top germination pan, pour enough water so that the siphon starts to work, and we should see it start running down into the other tray. So actually, I'm gonna flip this so you guys can see it. You should be able to see the water coming right down here in a second. So let's go ahead and pour. Woohoo! They're like at a water park. They're going everywhere. And in a second, it should start draining into the next one. We need the right amount of water to create water pressure for that siphon to start working. And here we go. I see it pouring into the next one. This is really cool. This is really cool. And now I am above it, so I might have poured a little bit too much, but no, it's still going through. Wonderful. And that should drain through all of these and kind of make sure that all of the seeds are wet. Now, once the water's finished draining through, I might give this a little bit of a shake to make sure it's spread out real even. Now, I'm wondering, because I want to make sure that this siphon over here in the second layer also starts going through. So first layer, second layer, third layer. This one also needs to start dripping water through. Let me read the package again. There does appear to be something slightly off with that second siphon, so let's see if I can do this without ruining everything. Okay, it's floating for some reason. It shouldn't be floating. Oh, I see what happened. There's like some little sticky vent things on the bottom of these trays, and I think that was like, yeah, now it's flowing. See, there we go. That's it. It's working now. I adjusted it slightly. And after the bottom one fills up, I would expect the water to then start draining into the bottom. And actually it says that once you see the water draining into the bottom, you can kind of empty that bottom tray out. Now, I'm gonna put the lid on. We're gonna let this work its magic and see what happens in a couple minutes. I guess the bottom tray should start filling up with water, but I'm happy because all three seed layers do seem to be kind of very well watered, I must say. That top one is really wet and that's exactly what we want to see. All right guys, it is day 4 and I see that we've got an incredible germination going on underneath here. I can even see it on the sides. I'll pop these open in a second, but check out this insane snow I'm having right now. So what I'm going to need to do is lift these out. These seeds are going to need to be put under the grow light. So let's just, have a look at what's underneath here. So if I lift this tray, I think, yeah, I'm going to have quite a few seeds just kind of stuck to the bottom there. but you can see that all of these seeds are like fuzzy, which I hope is fine. I'll do my best to kind of clear as many off of the bottom here, get those kind of back into the tray. I don't know why they're hanging like that. I really hope this isn't mold. I hope that's just how the seed grows at this phase. I'm pretty sure that is the case here, so I'm not too worried about that. But this insane wetness on the bottom, I'm going to have this on all the trays. That might be a little bit of a problem. I'm not sure how I'm planning on resolving that one. But alright, I've gotten almost every seed back into where it belongs. See that? They're all fuzzy. It's really interesting. I don't know, I'm not sure which seed this is. I think this is the broccoli at the end of the day. But I'm not 100% sure. Anyway, let's have a look at the second seed now. Yep, we've got a bunch of sprouting here as well. Now, these also have this kind of hairy thing. Yeah, I'm a little bit worried about that, not gonna lie. I hope that is fine. It might have been too wet. I don't know. I'm hoping it's fine. I'm hoping that just goes away. And there's some seeds on the bottom here as well, which I'm just trying to get off. Let's have a look at the last one, which are the sunflower seeds. And we do have pretty good germination with the sunflower seeds as well. And because they're so big, there's very, very few of them that have like stuck to the bottom here. So that's fantastic. And here you go. I've got my 3 trays of microgreens growing pretty well, I think. As long as they're not moldy, I think they're fine. So I'm going to leave these here today, and I guess later on, or probably tomorrow, put them under the grow lights so that they start to like supercharge grow. And of course, we can't forget about our sprouts here, because they're doing fantastic. They're sprouting like crazy, and basically the only thing I have to do is add a little bit of water. So let's do that. I should show you guys exactly what's on the seeds for a second. So you see that they're sprouting here as well. Now, I don't see any of that fuzzy stuff. Actually, they are a little bit fuzzy. Maybe that's just how seeds kind of germinate. They like fuzz out a little bit, and then that's how they find their roots and stuff. But these are also going, these red ones and the green ones also starting to germinate quite well. So this is going well. Let's give it some water. So we got the seed sprouts pretty much fully drained by now. I'll let that finish, and that's going to be pretty much it for day 4. It's getting pretty easy at this point. It's basically just 5 minutes of work every day, if even that. I think it's more like 2 minutes of work every day. So let's see if I haven't damaged the seeds or anything beyond repair. See you tomorrow. All right, guys, welcome back. It is now day 5. And I'm going to show you what's happening with these sprouts and what's happening with the trays I have. But it's a good day because I'm pretty sure those trays are ready to be put under the grow light. So the sprouts are going absolutely bananas. I mean, we've got plenty of little sprouty things coming out of each one. Well, besides the red ones are lagging a little bit, but you do see that they're cracked a little. I don't know. They look okay. And the ones down here are also doing absolutely fantastically. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a little bit of water, and we'll do a quick little time lapse. Alright guys, look at all these sprouts that we have here. They're growing absolutely fantastically. Now, I am noticing something really interesting. Now, the sunflower seeds have pretty even germination. I don't see any real like strange patterns here, but I do think that this side's going a little bit faster than this side. As you can see, there's less white stuff here, and if you look on this one, it's even more pronounced, right? This side, we've already got some lush greens growing really rapidly, and the rest of it is pretty calm and relaxed. And you see the same thing here. So on this one, this side is kind of growing much better than anywhere else, and I think the reason for that is that the radiator is right here. So this side of the trays is going to be the warmest side of the trays. So that's really interesting to see how the heat has affected even just in these initial stages of growing. These two are definitely ready for the grow lights. This one will also be ready soon, and they've all pretty much germinated. So let me go ahead and put these under the grow light. Now, we've got some really hardcore sun today, so you can actually see these greens if I move out of the way. Boom! Sunlight. Now, obviously, that's not gonna be enough. So I've got my Epic Grow Light here. And what I'm gonna wanna do is basically get these lights as close to these greens as possible, within 5 to 10 centimeters. And I'm gonna wanna do that for all 3 of my microgreen trays that I have. And it's really convenient because I can plop these right on top of these containers, which aren't really growing anything. This onion is not doing anything anymore. It started germinating and kind of growing some greens, but it's pretty much dead. I'm gonna eat this. This little spinach here, well, it's not really doing anything for the past like 3 weeks. So I'm gonna plop one on here. One has already been plopped up on here. I'm gonna put another one somewhere. Let's see how I organize this. All right, so I'm feeling pretty good with that orientation. I got the radish, I believe, here. I need to make sure that's actually flat. Radish over here. I got the sunflowers over here, and I guess these over here will be the broccoli. So I'm gonna turn this light on, and I'm rolling them right now. I'm basically a 12 hours on, 12 hours off cycle, which seems to be pretty good. So let's see how they grow, and that's day 5. See you tomorrow. Welcome back, everyone, to day 6, and I'm gonna show you what's happening in Sprout City, and of course, what's happening with the grow lights a little bit that way. Check out these sprouts. Now, as you can see, the top layer's just got greens on greens on greens. If we look down there, woohoo! I mean, look at that growth. That's going incredibly. And let me go ahead and show you what's happening a little bit underneath that. It's a bit difficult with one hand. Oh God. Oh geez. Okay. There we go. The red ones are sprouting now as well. There's a bit more water in there than I would like. I think the siphon isn't 100% working correctly, but that's fine for now. I'll have a look at that in a moment. And of course, at the bottom over here, you can just see that through the little window. We've got so much growth happening in there. That's just good stuff. Let me see if I can lift this up for you guys actually. Whoops. Okay, we're definitely gonna crush something. There you go. As you can see, that's also going fantastic. And now, of course, we're popping on over to the grow lights. So because it's the evening right now, even with the lights in the living room on, you can get an appreciation of just how much light these grow lights are actually putting out. I don't think you were able to see that fully in the video from yesterday. So when I turn this off, you're gonna be able to see exactly how well these plants are growing. But let's talk about the light a little bit more. Now, I'm no expert. Apparently, it doesn't really matter which color light you're using. It depends on the plant. It depends on so many different things that, you know, as a little hobby that I'm doing on the side, I don't need the best lighting setup ever. But if you did want to go all the way, you should probably do some research on which type of lighting is better for your plant. Whether you want red light, blue light, a combination, just a solid white light that covers all like light spectrum ranges. I think that seems to be the favorite among most microgreen growers. Anyway, this is what I've got, so this is what I'm going with. And as you can see, I have the lights really quite close to the plants now. I'm really trying to be within 5 to 10 centimeters of the surface here. That seems to be the ideal amount, and you can see it really well in the camera, just how well these 3 trays are getting lit up versus, for example, the chives over here, which don't really seem to be glowing that much. But the garlic over here, I mean, you can see it's barely getting anything from this light compared to these trays, which are basically getting blasted. So let me do magic and turn this off, and now we can see how it's growing. We've got the sunflower seeds over here, which I think I should have left under the tray a couple days longer. I saw that it started to germinate, and I thought that was when I needed to take them out and kind of start exposing them to the light. But it seems like the sunflower seeds did need a little bit more time stuck under that tray to really get the seeds to germinate perfectly. Now, the radish over here is doing pretty well. There's a lot of seeds underneath down here which have started germinating, but they just haven't started growing aggressively yet. So I reckon in a couple of days we're not going to see this huge difference over here. I mean, this will probably always be taller, but I reckon this tray is going to fill out really, really nicely. And of course, over here we've got the broccoli, which according to me is growing the most even out of any of these plants. And the trays are looking good. I'm not seeing any kind of mold, and I'm pretty happy with the growth on these 2. And yeah, next time, Definitely 1 day of germinating. I think it was 1 day, not even 2. Definitely doesn't seem to be enough. Even when I started to see like some green appearing here, I should have waited for them to really start pushing the trays up, which apparently is more like 3 days-ish for most plants. But once again, that also depends on each variety, because you can see that the broccoli is perfectly fine with whatever I did. So, first time growing microgreens, pretty good. Day 6, I mean, we've learned so much already. The next time I try to grow them, I'm going to be so much further ahead. So let's turn these awesome lights back on. Boop. I don't know if you can tell, but I really love this remote. And that's it for day 6. See you at the end of the week on day 7. Today is day 7 of my microgreens and seed sprouting journey. And check this out. I mean, the top layer over here has literally grown so much that I cannot keep the lid on. I looked at it this morning, I was like, hold on, something's wrong there. That lid does not look like it's on, and it's not. It's being pushed off. So I'm just gonna go ahead and leave that to the side, and let's give these a good watering. I reckon these sprouts are pretty close to being edible. They might already be edible. So I'm gonna give them one more watering, and after that, the next time, I'm probably gonna be harvesting some of these. And let me bring you down to the main microgreen growing section. So nothing has changed here. I literally just gave them a little bit of water because they were looking a bit dry. Now, we definitely messed up on the germination with the sunflower seeds. We definitely should have left it under the tray sitting on my windowsill a little bit longer, but let's see how it goes. Anyway, the radishes are looking pretty good here as well, but there's a bunch of seeds here. I mean, you can just see nothing's growing here. So once again, I should have let it germinate a bit further. And the broccoli too, I mean, I'm quite happy with that growth, but if I look down into the dirt, I do see as well a lot of seeds again that just haven't germinated. So what we've confirmed so far is that I definitely should have left them stacked on top of each other to germinate a little bit longer. Now, regarding the lights, I'm glad with the spacing. These are growing well. These are growing well. And I haven't told you about the light cycle that I've chosen yet. So you've got a couple of options, but the two most popular ones seem to be 12 hours on and 12 hours off, or 16 hours on and 8 hours off, because all plants do need a little bit of rest. Once again, I'm sure you can look up for each individual microgreen exactly what they need, but it's my first time doing this, so I'm just going with the 12 hours on, 12 hours off cycle, because it's easy for me to handle. Now, I'm gonna check if I should already be eating those bean sprouts, and if not, you'll hear from me tomorrow. Good mythical morning, everyone. It is day 7, and as you can see, it's going crazy. These are definitely ready to eat at this point. So the wheatgrass has sprouted brilliantly. As you can see, I mean, it's popped the top off. So if you were growing these as microgreens, you would of course want it to grow quite a lot higher and then harvest that. But I'm growing these as sprouts, so I can go ahead and eat these in their current form. So let me just grab one, and yeah, let's see. That tastes quite nice. It reminds me of, what do you call them? Dientes de dragón in Spanish. I'll put what they are right here. But there's like a sharpness to them. Oh, this is really nice. This is really quite delicious. This is wheatgrass. All right. Let's move on to the, what were these? Azuki beans? Adzuki beans. So, no idea what these are going to taste like. These taste a lot more grassy. Grassy and beany. If you mix like grass and beans, that's what this tastes like. And then we have one of the most popular microgreens that people grow, actually, the mung beans down here. So let's give these a taste. This is, I would say, the least flavorful out of all of them, but that's not a bad thing. You could really put this on absolutely anything, and that must be why they're so popular. It's just like a standard little sprout microgreen taste. So if you just want like If you think microgreens, that's what this tastes like. Yeah, you could shove this on a sandwich or something. This is delicious. I mean, I probably got way too much for myself, but yeah, this is great. I highly recommend this. So remember that I grew these as sprouts, and yeah, I already explained about the microgreens, but let's go ahead and move on to my actual microgreens now. So as usual, we got the red light district of my apartment in full send right now. Everything's growing quite nicely. I'm really happy with these radishes here, and the broccoli is starting to fill in really, really well. And we've even got some growth happening here on the sunflowers. Now, the sunflowers are obviously going to need a lot more time than these others, but let me turn this off, and you can get a really good appreciation for just how green this is, how much this is filling in the broccoli too. And I reckon that these radish microgreens are probably just about ready to eat. I want to eat them and harvest them right before they start growing any kind of true leaves. So basically, if you were to like open one, you would start to see a little set of leaves coming in. And actually, I see that on this one. That is not good. Well, actually, that's great because it means that these radishes are probably ready to harvest. And yeah, I'm going to go ahead and harvest these probably tomorrow. And so tomorrow we're going to have our first microgreen harvest. Yeah, the sprouts, you can just pull them out and eat them as they are. But these, you got to cut them, and it's a whole process. So that's going to be exciting. This is really cool, guys. It's only been 1 week, and I've got all this produce ready for me. Honestly, this is enough like salad in general to get me through a whole week. And I don't know, I haven't spent that much on this. I mean, obviously the setup for the lights and the trays and everything, if you want to add that all up, but that's a one-time cost, which is also not a lot. I reckon you can get all of this for about, I don't know, $30. And then the seeds themselves are each like under $1 for like one packet here, one packet here, one packet here. And if you buy them in bulk, you can get that number way down. So I'm definitely going to be growing microgreens very, very often going forwards, especially the sprouts. I mean, the sprouts are so easy. If I don't want to go through that whole process of like growing these up, cutting them, and maybe I want to grow like some other stuff using these grow lights that I've got here. I've only got one grow light, but the sprouts are like literally zero maintenance. Just remember to give it water a couple times and you've got food. So day 7 is actually fantastic. This is maybe one of my favorite days so far because we've got everything kind of coming together. So really awesome. Tomorrow we're going to be harvesting the radish. Boop. So I was over here having a delicious little sandwich with my mung beans for lunch, and I realized you guys are probably curious what weight did I actually grow. So I ate about 1/5 of it for lunch, and trust me, I'm super full. But let me go ahead, I've got a little food scale here. I put everything in a little bag here, so let's go ahead and weigh this and see how much that weighs. Now I've got another bag here to zero it, but I think that weight is gonna be pretty much negligible. So yeah, this is like 2 grams worth of bag, so let's just ignore that. Yeah, we're set to 0. So how much does this actually weigh? Well, I've got 198 grams here, and remember, I've eaten like 1/5, so I probably grew something like 250 grams worth of bean sprouts, just like that. Now, in a regular bag of like mixed greens that you get here, this is about 150 grams of produce, so this is almost double that, and I bet you that those beans are worth a lot more than the lettuce bags that you usually get. I'll do a bit of a cost breakdown tomorrow, but now I also want to know how much the Atsuki beans weigh. So I'm gonna need to zero this scale based on one of these trays so that we've got a good reading here. So all right, this trays weigh about 109. I've zeroed the scale down. So if I place this guy on top, it's just gonna reveal the number here of the weight of these beans, and this is 178 grams of Atsuki beans sprouts that I've got here. So that's also pretty good. I should probably look up the price per 100 grams of each of these sprouts. And you know what? I'll do that tomorrow. We'll have something fun to look forward to. And of course, that leaves the wheatgrass. Now, the wheatgrass I'm not going to eat today, and I want to see if I can get it to grow a little bit further. Okay, the siphon is deciding to let all the water out. That is not convenient. I am now the proud owner of a particularly wet table right at this point. But it's actually a blessing that that occurred because obviously you want the dry weight of this, not the weight with the water. So I've drained it a little bit over the sink. Let's have another try here. So this comes out to 228 grams of wheatgrass. Now, I think this is going to grow nicely still one more day, but I'm going to bag up all of these microgreens and keep them in my fridge. So tomorrow I'll let you know how much each of these is actually worth. Welcome back, guys. It is now day number 9, but I do have an update on something that happened for you guys on day 8. So what I saw was basically this whole section of this radish tray had just fallen over. Like the plants were literally laying down on the dirt. And I also had that over here on the broccoli and over here on the broccoli. So that was a big panic because they still needed like a day or two until they would be ready to harvest. And what it ended up being was that apparently I hadn't done a very good job of evenly watering throughout the tray. And I thought maybe I damaged them by watering up top, even though I feel like I've been very gentle with it. And it was indeed just uneven watering throughout the tray because, you know, it's a very little amount of dirt in a really shallow tray. So if you're not monitoring that like often and making sure the whole thing has the same amount of water, you're gonna run into issues and your plants might fall over. But it's a very easy solution. As you can see today, they look very, very happy. And let's turn these lights off. Bing. So you see here the radishes are pretty much ready to harvest. When they hit about 2.5 inches, which is where kind of the tallest ones are, I can harvest this. So really I can harvest this today or tomorrow. And you know what? I'm thinking if I want to harvest them today or tomorrow, considering the weekend plans. Okay, we're gonna harvest them tomorrow. And the broccoli, I think the broccoli is also kind of in need of being harvested because it looks like it's kind of on its last legs here. And so that's probably also gonna be ready tomorrow. And the sunflowers, as you can see, are so far behind. I have no idea how many more days the sunflower is going to need than the radish and the broccoli. This is mostly a factor of they just grow a little bit slower. They just need a couple more days. But also, I think I did not really give it enough time germinating properly. Like I mentioned 50 million times already. But yeah, that's basically it. Technically, the radishes are ready to harvest. I want to give it another day. And now let me tell you how much of the bean sprouts I actually grew and how much each one is worth. Alright guys, I've punched through the numbers. So we grew 250 grams of mung beans, 178 grams of Atsuki beans, and 228 grams of wheatgrass. Now I looked online, either at the supermarket or the closest best price that I could find, and I basically came up with this little list, which I'm gonna put here so that you can see it more easily. So the cost to me for the trays and the dirt and the water, I mean, I have trays laying around during the winter. I already had them. The dirt is pretty much probably free. It's a very small amount and I'm gonna compost it and use it again later in the season. But I reckon that if you want to factor in the dirt, you can probably throw in another couple, I don't know, 20 cents, 30 cents worth of dirt for each tray. And I also have to say, these are not standard size trays. They are what they are. So the mung and Atsuki seeds both cost me 62 cents. And the wheatgrass seeds cost me 72 cents. Now, when I looked up the prices online, that means I made a total of this amount for each one of those. Now, obviously, you can see the wheatgrass is worth way more. Now, that's because you need a lot more wheatgrass in order to get wheatgrass juice, which is one of the healthiest products online. So that's why that value is so high. But usually it would be sold to the end customer either in a powdered form or already juiced, in which case that price would go even higher. So this was as close as I could get to just selling the wheatgrass sprouts itself like I'd grown them, but take it with a grain of salt. Now, the mung beans I do have actual prices for because these are literally the sprout prices from my local supermarket. Now, as you can see, I just grew more volume on the mung beans, so they ended up basically being worth double in the end when I factor in all my costs and how much money is left over. So If I wanted to do this commercially, I don't know if selling the sprouts really makes sense for the amount of effort and everything. If you're doing it on a big scale, maybe. But I think as a fun little project at home, but yeah, if you want to save a little bit of money and you like growing stuff at home and having it as fresh as possible, I'm probably going to have one of these seed sprouters on rotation pretty much all the time. Now, obviously my profit is quite low because I bought really small seed packets. I reckon if you bought like a kilogram of seeds or something like that, you'd probably get that seed price way down. I just did a quick Google search, and if I buy 1 kilogram of mung beans, that comes out to about €7. And I only had about 50 grams, so math, that is 38 cents for each of those bean packets instead of what I paid, which was 62. Not quite double, but pretty close. Obviously, then your profit margins will shoot up quite dramatically. But yeah, I reckon if you grow this all year round, you're probably going to save an easy $100 worth of produce. It's not bad, and it's ultra fresh. So as a fun little side project, it's fun to do. Hello guys, and welcome to day 10 of the microgreen growing. And today we've got the radish here, we've got the broccoli, and the sunflowers are looking great. So let me turn this light off. And now we should be able to see just how well all of this is growing. I mean, the radish is definitely ready to harvest now. It's at the 2.5 inch mark. The sunflowers are finally coming along. I'm really happy about that. I know that they take longer than the others. And the broccoli, I believe, is also pretty much ready to harvest. So I'm going to do a big harvesting either tomorrow or the day after. But let's give the radish and the broccoli a little try. So if I come in with some scissors and just snip one that's right on the edge. Let's take this guy here. We have a beautiful radish. Let me make that zoom in on it. So there you can see just how good that radish looks. And yeah, let's give it a taste. Oh, that's really interesting. When you first start biting it, it just tastes like a normal plant, but as soon as you start crunching down on, I guess, the stem, it starts to release, like, it might be the leaves, but once you really start chewing down on it, it starts to release like a kind of spiciness is the wrong word, but like intense flavor that reminds me a little bit sharpness. It releases a sharpness which is very similar to that of, for example, a blue cheese, believe it or not. So that's really interesting. That is a really interesting element to microgreens. I mean, if you had a bag full of them, yeah, that's definitely a special flavor. So let me take some broccoli now. And once again, I'll do my best to show you up close what these little guys look like. That's more or less in focus there. If not, at some point that should have focused. So there you go, that's the broccoli. It's very small, but let's go ahead and give this a little taste. Oh, wow. That's so interesting. Once again, it's very planty, but there was like a small little hint of mustard in there. That's really interesting. I really wonder what a mix of these would taste like. And now I'm really curious to try the sunflower. I did not expect either of them to taste like that at all. That's really interesting. So yeah, see you back on day 11 or 12, and we'll do a harvest. I'm gonna go ahead and make sure these are well watered and call it a day. What's up guys, it is now day 12, and this is exactly what I was talking about. Yesterday, I wasn't home and I wasn't able to water the plants, so as you can see, they've all fallen over. The radishes are down, the broccoli's down, and I don't want to harvest it in this state. So what I've done is I've given them both, and the sunflowers as well, a very good watering, and by the evening, these should prop themselves back up, and that's when I'll be able to harvest them. So, see you in the evening. Hey guys, it's the evening now, and as you can see, the broccoli has come back up really nicely, and the radish is also starting to come back. So I'm gonna leave this, I think, until the morning. I'm gonna give them a little bit more water right now, and we'll harvest it tomorrow. That should be good. Hello everyone, as you can see today, the sun is absolutely beaming down on us, and these are definitely ready to harvest. Our little operation yesterday worked We added water. You can see the radishes have sprung back up. The broccoli is also standing up really nicely. So it is now going to be time to go ahead and harvest these. So I'm going to weigh them. I'm going to let you know how much I got out of them, and I'm going to show you how I harvest them. So let's grab these trays and move on over to the table. All right, so we've got our scale over here, which I'm now zeroing. So that's now saying 0. Let's get the weight of the bowl on here, 75 grams. So it's been zeroed again, which means now anything I put in here is just going to show us the weight of it. And I guess you guys can see that. Yes, it's in frame. I'll tell you what that number is because you probably can't see it through the camera. So I could either come in with scissors and just kind of go ahead and snip, or with a really sharp knife come in and kind of go over the tray. That also works. Now, I think that for my first time, it's going to be easier if I just use scissors. That gives me a little bit more control. So let me go ahead and do that, but a knife is also perfectly fine. So let's go ahead and start over here with the radishes. Now, I don't know how much I'm going to get out of this tray. I don't know how many seeds are still down there. I see quite a few. I reckon, honestly, in this case, because I didn't do a good job germinating them. In fact, I did a really bad job germinating them. I reckon, honestly, if I just put another tray on top of these guys and let that kind of sit for another couple of days, I'm probably going to get another round out of these trays. But what that does mean is that this harvest that I'm going to pull right now is going to be a little bit lackluster compared to what you might expect to get if you were doing this regularly and you were actually quite good at growing microgreens. So don't expect anything too crazy here. It's my first time. We're learning as we go. So yeah. Now, this is not ideal. I do think that a knife might be a better tool for this. But maybe I just need to be a bit more aggressive here. Come in, snip away, snip away, snip away. Yeah, I need to let the blade do the work there. I was trying to be way too gentle. So here we go. Oh, now we're getting some good handfuls here every time. Okay, you see me just kind of going to town on this little tray here now. Trying not to pull little seedlings out because I don't really want to get too much dirt in here, and I'm doing a pretty good job of that so far. So let's go in, keep cutting away, and I'm going to give you guys a little time lapse now. Alright guys, so that is the radishes, and let's have a look at how much we've got here. I haven't looked, so if I turn this on, what's it gonna say? Well, it says 0, that's not good. Anyway, I measured I measured the bowl, it was 75 grams. So if I just go ahead and zero this again, we'll take 75 grams off of the total there. And this is now saying 144. So in theory, this should be about 80 grams of radish microgreens that I've grown here, which isn't great, but it's also not bad. Now, if we look in the tray over here, and I really hope the camera does a good job of focusing on that, you'll see that there's a ton of seeds still in there. And that's going to explain why the yield was relatively low, because I reckon you'd be looking at more of like 150 to 200 grams for the weight of seed packet that I had, which I can't remember off the top of my head right now. I'll put it here. So I would say I probably got like a decent yield, but I reckon I could easily double that with just a few changes that I could make. Water it more consistently, really give it more time in that germination phase. That's going to be essential here. But yeah, I'm really happy with how that turned out for my first time. And this is not an insignificant amount of microgreens. This is like quite nice. In fact, let me double check the weight. So here I've got an identical green bowl, and that comes in at, yeah, exactly 72. So this one comes in at 144. So yeah, just about 72 grams, something like that, plus minus a couple grams. That's not bad. I mean, that's gonna last quite a while. If it was just me eating this, I reckon honestly that's enough microgreens for a whole week at least. So let's go ahead and do the same with the broccoli. Now these look a lot smaller. I don't think we're gonna get anywhere near as much weight with the broccoli here. Now the broccoli is kind of all leaning this way, so I think maybe a knife would be better for these guys. You know what? I'm gonna try it. We're here, we're experimenting, so let me go ahead and grab my sharpest knife and let's see what we can do. All right, I've gone for a bit of a longer one here, not my standard chef's knife, but so if I come in and I very, very lightly kind of just skim the bottom here. Is that working well? The problem is that it's so easy to just pull the seedlings out and have like a little bit of dirt hanging off of them at the bottom here. And with the scissors, I can really mitigate that issue. So I think scissors are going to be the way to go for me personally. Now, obviously, lots of people have great success using a sharp knife for this. So let me go ahead and actually try to do this properly this time. The bowl is on here. I'm zeroing the weight. Okay, now this is... it doesn't even come up on the scale yet. All right. Now, the broccolis do have a little bit more dirt on them than the radishes do. Honestly, the radishes, you could probably get away with not rinsing them at all. But these broccolis, I do see a bit of dirt kind of all over them. They're going to need a rinse for sure. And I'm trying to come in and cut as close to the surface as I can in order to get the maximum weight out of these. And I reckon I'm honestly doing the best I can regarding that. I think I'm not doing too badly, to be honest. Those are some pretty close cuts. Oh, that was a little bit of dirt. Don't want that there. Boop. Let's cut that off. Okay, it's gone. Now, let's just harvest the majority here. The weight's not going to change too much, and I can always go back in and clean this in a couple minutes. So, there goes the broccoli. Let's keep going. And let's do the time lapse. Now, one thing to notice is that I think I did mention was that the broccoli did have kind of a little mustardy taste, and I am smelling that right now as I'm cutting them. The radishes really didn't smell like anything, nothing, but the broccoli, yeah. I think in general, radishes don't really have too much of a smell anyway, so I'm not surprised. The broccoli definitely has a bit more of a scent behind it in general. But I wouldn't say it's mustardy when you grow a full head of broccoli, for example. Well, I've never grown a full head of broccoli, but eat it from the store. Now we're almost done here. I wonder what that scale says. It still says 0, so I've made a mistake there. But we all know how much the little containers are, about 72 grams. So that's some easy math that we can do to reach the final weight of these broccolis. Unless it's literally so little that it's not registering, which it's not the case. There's definitely something there. Definitely something there. So, we're just about done with this broccoli harvest here. Now, I don't know if the camera is picking that up, but you will see there's kind of quite a bit of dirt in here, honestly. See, it's not bad. It's not bad at all. But it definitely does need a little bit of a rinse. And as you can see, that pile is way lower than what we got from the radishes here, which makes sense. It's a much, much thinner stem. If we just look at that here, I mean, the difference is kind of insane. I hope it focuses. And yeah, so let's see how much we got out of this. What does it say? 87? That's it? 87 grams? So that means there's only about like 10 grams of broccoli in here, which means I definitely haven't done something right because we should be getting way more yield out of that seed packet. But you know, it's here. That's going to be enough to last you for, I don't know, 2-3 days, and it's exceptionally healthy. And I'll show you the seed tray. I'm actually quite happy with how many of these germinated now. It's not perfect. I reckon 1 day of extra germination on these would have also benefited them quite a lot. But yeah, that's looking real good. Now, I'm going to let this compost kind of dry out a bit and then just add that right back into my compost pile because this is perfect material for composting, and I'm quite excited to start composting. So let me give these a final little taste test. Grab ones that really don't have any dirt on them. There's that sharpness from the radish again. It's a really nice flavor. Let me grab a couple broccolis here. Yeah, the best way to describe it is a little bit mustardy. It's really interesting. So I'll do a price breakdown in a couple days when I go ahead and harvest the sunflower seeds as well. But yeah, we're basically just waiting on the sunflower seeds here, and I guess I can show you quickly what the underside of these look like, but I do want it to dry out just a little bit because I'm afraid that it's gonna kind of all fall out here. Yeah, I'll show you guys in a bit when I go ahead and go to my little compost container. It's not impressive, okay? It's not impressive. All right, guys, the sun is absolutely beaming down today. It is just about freezing outside. But let me go ahead and lift these trays up, show you what they look like underneath. I'm expecting to see a bunch of root matting. Now, I do apologize for the road noise. Anyway, let's have a look and just see what's happening underneath here. Now, as you can see, that whole white web, that's just going to continue for this whole thing, which means, you know, it's actually not looking that saturated compared to how microgreens usually look, but we definitely get a vibe for how that goes. Now, if I'd gotten better germination and I'd let them sit there an extra day, we'd see this almost double, I believe, and then you'd have pretty much a normal looking microgreen kind of root network down there. But just gonna go ahead and literally plop that in. I don't even think I really need to chop this up. I mean, those bits are quite small already. Let's have a look under here. Yeah, you see there was a lot of dirt left for it to saturate there. But yeah, so that's pretty much what it looks like. And that's pretty much why I really don't think the soil component here really matters much, because all those nutrients from those little bits of stems that you can't quite cut are just being returned back into the ecosystem, back into the compost pile here. So let's do exactly the same with the broccoli. And I'm going to try to lift this, but I reckon there's going to be almost no saturation. There's pretty much nothing happening underneath there. Honestly, I reckon I could just reuse this soil as it is. What the green's in there, they'll decompose real quick. But yeah, I mean, I only got 10 grams of broccoli out of the seed packet, so we already knew something was not 100% right there. But yeah, this soil is honestly pretty much unused. I could reuse that, but for the sake of the video, and because this compost pile does need a little bit of help to get started, I'm just gonna go ahead and dump that in there. I've got plenty of unused soil right now, because the growing season is still a couple of months away, so I can grow a lot more microgreens in that time, and by then all this stuff is gonna be really nice, really rich, and really decomposed already. So yeah, there's no sense kind of being stingy about my compost usage at this exact moment in time. And of course, the last step is always to give it a good watering, which I'll do off camera. But anyway, it's just a quick little cold compost that I started like a week or two ago. So yeah, this, by the time I'm done with my microgreens and it's the growing season, this should be pretty much full, and all this soil is going to be ready to be reused to replant it. So that's brilliant. I mean, it's basically like zero loss of soil. So whatever I buy, I pretty much have found a way to just recycle it like indefinitely. So that's really nice. It is now day 15 and we have finished growing everything. Even the sunflowers are now ready. So let's have a look. Boom! As you can see, they're nicely fully grown. I'm gonna harvest them right now because I'm starting to see a set of true leaves on it. I think you want to harvest them before those true leaves set in, so it might be a day or two too late on them, but that's fine. They should still taste pretty good. All right, so let's talk about these sunflowers a little bit. I have no idea what they taste like, but like I mentioned, I did let them get a little bit of true leaves, and obviously they've splayed out since I moved them from down there to the table. As you can see, they're not so happy. These are gonna be really easy to cut. There's not that many of them. I'm really curious how much weight we got out of this. And if I bring this in real close, you can see the leaf structure and everything and how these look. And they do have some husks on them, but because there's so few, I can really just go in and pick those off individually. So let's just get started over here. And as always, we're gonna be using the same bowls and everything. So let me turn the scale on. I'm pretty sure these are still 72 grams. I don't think the laws of physics have changed. So this one is exactly 73. That's fine. We'll just subtract that after the fact. So it's on there. And let's get cutting. I'm gonna take a small break and actually dehusk these first, because I think it's gonna be faster if I just dehusk them and then just cut everything. It's slowing me down quite a lot, having to go back through and do that for each one individually. So I reckon this is the right move here. It's on like a majority of these that I still have a husk. I didn't expect that. I thought they'd fallen off of most of them. But yeah, there's a lot that still have the husk on. I'm sure there was a better way to kind of handle that. I do believe that it would have been easier to take those off at an earlier stage in the process, but I'm not sure, honestly. Let me know in the comments down below if you know when I should be dehusking these sunflower, what would you call them? Microgreens? Sprouts, I guess? I guess they're not really sprouts at this point. Seedlings, maybe? I don't know when the correct time is to dehusk them, because I've seen people, they just kind of do this motion above the plants and the husks kind of all come out, but that wouldn't work here. The ones that are still on there are like really, really tightly on there. So I believe I have pretty much everything from the ones I want to cut. There's 2 here still. And now I'm pretty sure I can just get cutting and really go to town here. So let's do that. Oh yeah, that's way faster. This is definitely the way to go. All right, so there we have it. I have now harvested all of the sunflowers that I'm gonna get out of this tray. I might get some more tomorrow. I've left a couple of really, really tiny ones still in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-ish, 7, 8. I mean, but these are really tiny. Whoops, I pulled that one out. That one's not gonna make it. So we've got pretty much everything harvested here. I'm gonna leave this, see what happens. There's probably gonna be like a couple more sunflowers that sprout out of this. So let's get finally our measurement here. Well, I see the scale is sitting at 123 grams. So the bowl itself weighs 73. If we take that off, now it says 124, but it seems more stable at 123. So minus 3, and then 120 minus 70 means 50. So I've got exactly 50 grams of sunflower seeds in here, which I think that's not bad for first time growth. Obviously, there's so many husks left that just didn't really germinate. I mean, that's an extreme amount, and I reckon I could have easily doubled this if I just really stuck with the whole thing of keeping this germinating an extra day, or even 2 days in this case. That would have really, really helped in this situation. Let's give this a bit of a taste test now. I'm gonna grab this one, which is a bit overripe here. As you can see, it's got the true leaves already and all that kind of stuff that you don't really, really want. You want to eat the microgreens before the true leaves, I believe. I'll double check that. And let's give it a taste. Oh, I don't like that. Okay, how do I go about describing this? You know what? Before I describe this, let me grab a smaller one right here, because I believe that those true leaves will have severely changed the taste of the sunflower, and it could be that in a smaller stage here, it is still quite delicious. So let's reserve judgment. Oh yeah, those smaller ones are really quite delicious. Wow, that's kind of a shame. I wish I'd harvested them sooner. I definitely left them too long. The taste with those first true leaves coming on is completely different. I don't like it. I want to make sure I'm giving you guys accurate information here, so let me try one more of these smaller ones. It's a little difficult to find. Here we go. So, versus a more established one. Now those tasted quite similar. You know what? I reckon you're just gonna have to experiment a little bit by yourself. I am now getting the sunflower taste through these. I guess their different stages really affect their flavor quite dramatically, and I don't know if you see this, but some of these have a really nice green stem, and some of these have like an ultra red stem. Trying to get that to focus there. And I reckon the taste of these is quite different. So let me try the one with the red stem first. There's a sharpness there, quite similar to the radish, and add an element of like raw carrot in there too, plus sunflower. And let's try a greener one. The greener ones are definitely missing that kind of radish sharpness that the red ones have. That's really interesting. I'm not sure why there's like a variation there, but that's cool. So yeah, there you go. That's what they taste like. And I got 50 grams of it. So I'll try to get through this one. This is not my favorite microgreen I grew. In fact, it's probably my least favorite out of everything, including the sprouts. And I'll see you guys again tomorrow and give you a full price breakdown of everything. Yep, not a fan. All right, guys, all the calculations are done. I've tallied up my total costs. I've tallied up my running costs, which are basically seeds and dirt. And I've also tallied up kind of my profits for each single plant, and as well my profit margins on growing sprouts and microgreens. So let me go ahead and share the most important information with you right now. So let's dive into the microgreens. So my total costs are basically dirt, seeds, the trays themselves, and as well a grow light. I mean, without those, you're not going to be able to grow microgreens consistently. So let's talk about the costs going into the microgreens. So I used 4 trays, 3 of them to hold the seeds in the dirt and 1 to lay on top during germination. And that came out to a total of $4.6. Then I had the cost of the dirt itself, which was about 15 cents per tray, so that comes out to about 45 cents. And last but definitely not least, my grow light, where I definitely splurged a little bit, came out to $22.48. Now, you could definitely get away with just a couple of LED light bulbs, which basically cost $2 a pop. So all of that, including the seed prices, brings my total startup cost for the microgreens to $29.66. Now, my running costs every time I want to grow something is basically just dirt and seeds. I mean, the water is on such a small scale that it's pretty much free. So my cost per growth cycle is $2.58. And my profit margin, when I calculate more or less what I'd be able to sell it for, my profit margin on the greens comes out to just about 42 cents per cycle when I grow these 3. So that's obviously not great, and I calculated it out. I'd have to grow them 70 times in order to start making a profit on the microgreens. Now, obviously, I think I could do a way better job and get a way bigger yield on the microgreens. So this is probably definitely something I should revisit at some point once I perfect the microgreen growing a little bit more. But yeah, what that comes out to, if you ignore the startup costs and only look at the running cost for every growth, is about a 14% profit margin, which for a business is already pretty good, and I reckon I could push that a lot higher just by improving kind of my microgreen growing abilities. Now, if we move on to the sprouts, we have a very different set of costs running from here. So pretty much the only thing I needed was the seed sprouter, which really you don't even need that. You could have just gotten away with the jar that you had in your cabinet, in which case it would have been free, but I splurged on the seed sprouter, which cost me a grand total of $9.74. And besides that, you only have to pay for seeds because it's just seeds and water. You're just going until the seeds sprout. And the seed cost came out to $1.96. So adding that all up, which is basically just the running cost of the seeds, means that every time I want to grow this, I have a running cost of about $1.96. Now, the wheatgrass is apparently extremely valuable because the wheatgrass itself gave me a profit of about $8.50. Meanwhile, the mung beans gave me about $1, and the adzuki beans gave me like half a dollar, because I guess the adzuki beans just don't grow as much as the mung beans do. The mung beans develop like a nice stem pretty quickly, and that of course adds to the weight of them. So coming back, that means that my cost per growth is pretty much just the seeds for the sprouts, and my profit per growth is what I would think that I could sell this amount for, which basically comes mostly from the wheatgrass, and that is about $10.09 profit per growth. Now, what does that mean? Instead of about the 70 cycles I'd have to do on the microgreens to reach a profit, the sprouts would be profitable in about 1.2 cycles, and the lion's share of that is coming from the wheatgrass. So if you're really thinking about growing something just for pure profit, I reckon the wheatgrass is probably the one thing that's really worth focusing on. But obviously, I want to revisit the microgreens at some point because I think there's a lot more that you can squeeze out of that. But anyway, as it stands now, that gave me a profit margin on the sprouts of 34.75%, which is absolutely insane. To give you something to compare that to, Apple, one of the most profitable and largest companies in the world, makes about a 30 to 35% profit margin on their iPhones. So my profit margin on the Sprouts is pretty much just as good as on the iPhone. So I think the wheatgrass is definitely the way to go for that. And there's also special ways that you can process wheatgrass to make it even more expensive. You could mill it into powder. You could prepare juices ahead of time and just sell those juices directly. That of course increases your profit margins even more. So I think there's a huge business there. And on top of that, wheat grains is one of the cheapest things that you can possibly buy. So definitely the wheatgrass is something to look into if you're seriously thinking about starting a kind of microgreen business here. So guys, those are my first 10 days as a microgreen grower. I think I should definitely revisit this at some point once I've kind of perfected growing microgreens a little bit more, because I think I can milk a lot more out of them. So subscribe if you want to see future videos like this. I've got a lot of gardening stuff in the works, and take care guys. Thanks for watching.